In Lecture 2, we'll start to talk about what it means to be a web application. This course is about modern web application architectures, and what we'll consider at a very high level is the architecture model that all web applications are based upon. We'll refine this model significantly throughout this course, adding various pieces and finally ending up with web application architectures that are fairly complex. Based upon the models that we describe here, we'll begin to consider the most basic web protocols and standards that you need to understand in order to build a web application. So the most basic model for a web application is the client-server architecture. The client-server architecture consists of some cooperating programs that make up the web application. There are two parts to a client-server architecture. The server component, which listens for requests and just provides services and resources according to the requests that are made of it. And then the client piece, which establishes the connection to the server and issues the requests that the server will respond to. So this response request cycle is what web applications are all about. It's just what happens on the server side gets more and more complicated, we'll see as we look at more sophisticated web applications. So here we have a client, and here's our server, and here is the request response protocol that takes place over a network. So first there's a request made of to the server by the client, and then a response is provided. In the case of a web application, the server is a web server and the client is a browser. And the protocol that we use to transfer information in between the two is called HTTP, for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Now let's define a web application. A web application is accessed by users over a network using a browser as the client and consists of a collection of client and server-side scripts, HTML pages, and other resources that may be spread across multiple servers. The application itself is accessed by a specific path within that server. For example, if you visit Amazon.com, there's a particular path within the server that responds to that request and returns pages accordingly. Other examples include webmail that I'm sure you use, online retail stores, online banks, online auctions, blogs, etc. All of these things are examples of web applications that are built on top of a client-server model. Now there's a bit more to this. The network in our case is not just any network, it's the internet. And the internet's a global system of interconnected computer networks that uses the TCP/IP protocol. And when we say web, we mean the World Wide Web, or WWW you see used often. The web operates on top of the internet, and it's just a system of interlinked documents, in other words, web pages, that you access via this HTTP protocol. Web pages contain hypermedia. That is text, graphic, images, video, and all sorts of other types of multimedia, along with hyperlinks to other pages. And it's these hyperlinks that give the web its structure. If you think about it, it's pretty amazing what that structure consists of. We're getting to the point where we're capturing almost all of the human knowledge that exists in these hyperlinks. So the structure of the web is what makes it useful and gives it value, and it's what's being leveraged by various entities. Commercial, governmental, educational entities are all making widespread use of this vast knowledge that is captured in the hyperlink structure of the web. So what are the advantages of web applications? Well, they're ubiquitous. Everybody has a browser on every device that you own, and so it's very easy to access web applications using a browser as the client. There's inherent cross-platform compatibility. It wasn't that long ago that you had to purchase software that ran either on a Windows or on a Mac or some other platform. Nowadays, that's not much of a problem. Applications running on the internet are inherently cross-platform. It doesn't really matter what type of computer you own. The ability to maintain and update web applications without installing new software is facilitated by this approach. It's very easy to update the back end of a website or to install a new browser without breaking the whole system. It reduces IT costs, particularly as we see cloud computing becoming more and more important. It's very easy nowadays to store information on the web, to use the web to perform compute operations for you, and integrate that all within your web application. Cloud computing makes that possible. What are some of the disadvantages? Well, the user experience, particularly in the early Web 1.0 days, was not as good as what you might get on a workstation or a PC. The web pages were static, not very responsive, and sometimes it would take quite a bit of time to just for the web page itself to load, which led to a poor user experience. This is not the case as much anymore. Privacy and security are issues associated with your data that are becoming more and more prominent as more of that is stored in the cloud. And then from a developer's perspective, it's very difficult to develop and debug web applications. What I'd like to say is there are a lot of moving parts there. There are multiple programming languages, multiple technologies, all of this working over a network that you have to understand in order to make a web application function properly. This completes the second lecture in Module 2.